Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with AgriNovus Indiana. Get more information at agrinovusindiana.com.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Monday, June 22nd, 2026. I'm Alex Brown. A South Bend-based company has played a big role in the design of the newly opened Obama Presidential Center Museum in Chicago. Envel Facade built the 458 concrete letters that adorn the exterior of the building, each one being about 5 feet tall and 1 foot deep. Owner Craig Haney.
It looks simple, it looks elegant, and the process kind of was anything but. It was extraordinarily challenging and heavy, and it was logistically challenging. But in the end, when the outcome is an elegant feature like that, it's been a success.
Envel began working on the project in 2021 and created and assembled each panel. The 39 panels weigh between 8,000 and 20,000 pounds each. AgriNovus Indiana has selected Tim Dixon to serve as Senior Director of Innovation, working to accelerate innovation and company creation in Indiana's ag bioscience sector. Dixon most recently served as Managing Director of Purdue Dial Ventures, an agri-food tech venture studio and innovation program. The owners of Muncie Dragway in Delaware County are stepping away and putting the racetrack up for sale. In a post on social media, owner Scott Daniels said the decision was made so he and his wife Dawn can spend more time with their growing family. He noted the current season at the track will not be affected. From the #1 source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
Indiana's school choice program leaves its nearly 300,000 rural public school students with fewer options and fewer resources while funding the private education of others. IIB's Aubriana Herron has more.
28% of Indiana school students reside in rural areas. A recent analysis of each of Indiana's 82 rural counties found that only 8, or fewer than 10%, have a charter or non-religious private school to attend. Families in other rural counties such as Brown, Crawford, Newton, Ohio, and Union have no alternatives at all. Standing charter schools tend not to open in rural areas because low student enrollment fails to bring in sufficient revenue, and geographical isolation prevents cost sharing among schools. The impact of school choice on the state's rural education has raised alarm not only among supporters of public schools, but supporters of school choice as well, including the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. 72 rural counties offer religious school alternatives, with numbers ranging from a single school in counties like Fulton and Switzerland to as many as 10 in LaGrange, where there is a large Amish community. The state's universal voucher system will pick up most of the tab for those students and other non-public schools, adding $492 million to the state's school expenditures. Meanwhile, with few means to increase their local revenue, traditional rural public school districts are being pinched as the state's school choice program expands. Starting this coming school year, Indiana families will be able to qualify for private and religious school vouchers, regardless of their income, making Indiana one of the few states in the country to reimburse parents for religious and private school tuition, regardless of the family's wealth. Aubriana Herron, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
While a formal deal to build a $2 billion Chicago Bears stadium in Hammond is still being finalized, local tourism officials are visualizing a year-round attraction in Northwest Indiana. South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority CEO Phil Talon told our partners at the Times of Northwest Indiana that the domed stadium could host a variety of events, including concerts, college football games, and soccer matches. Officials also envision a wider economic impact for local hotels, restaurants, and retail stores in the region, many of which are expected to open as a result of the stadium being built. Former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence says the policies Indiana has in place are the primary reason for continued optimism in the Indiana economy. In an extended interview on Inside Indiana Business Television, Pence spoke about his boundless confidence in Hoosiers.
Indiana, I'll always believe, is one of the best places in the world to live, to work, to raise a family and retire. But it's also because we've really led the way with those common sense, conservative policies of less government, less taxes, educational opportunities, even while we see to it that our communities have the need to grow and prosper. Indiana knows how to do it right.
Pence again cited Indiana's business-friendly policies as a primary driver for business attraction in all sectors. Hard Rock Casino Northern Indiana President Matt Schufert is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.